Hello all and welcome to today's webinar, COVID-19's impact on China's sweetener industry. I'm Kay from Cucumber and we are a market intelligence provider in China since 2001. And by my side is Ashley.
Hello everyone, and we're glad to be a presenter today, and many thanks to our research team for their support.
In the next 30 minutes, we will give you an overview on the current sweetener market situation in China, provide an outlook for the impact of COVID-19 on China's sweetener industry, and demonstrate an opportunity for your own effective sweetener market research in China. We will record this webinar and send you the link later. If you have any question, please write them down in the chat box or send to your account manager and we will reply you by email ASAP.
This webinar is enabled by our market research band CCM as well as the import and export analysis band Chainalysis. All the information you will learn today, and of course much more, can be found easily by contacting our team to provide you the answers and the tools that will gain you insights in China's hardly transparent market. Try our newsletters, reports, and market data analysis for premium market insights, or subscribe our online platforms for all the information at one place. Contact us to get your free demo for trade data visualization platform IE Research right after the presentation. IE Research provides trade analysis to help check the global import and export situation of your target products. Indexes including export and export price, quality, destination, specification, importer or exporter, manufacturers, etc. And you can review the analysis in both product dimension and enterprise dimension.
Right. Don't forget to contact us and let us know the topics you are interested in regarding the China market. Before the start of the presentation, let me show you the agenda. First, we will have an overview of China's sweetener market. Then we will talk about the impacts on sweetener production and sales. Next part will be the analysis of starch sugar's operating rate and profit. Besides, we will share the overall export situation and the key sweetener analysis. What's more, we will analyze the price trends of sweeteners from January to April 2020, and then review the recent sweetener market dynamics. And last but not the least, talk about the changes and trends for China's sweetener industry under the impact of COVID-19. Without further delay, let's go into the topic.
First, let's have a brief review of China's sweetener industry. China is the major producer of sweeteners. China saccharin, acesulfame, cyclamate, aspartame production and other artificial sweeteners products account for a relative high proportion in the global market. In 2018, the total market size of China artificial sweeteners, naturally sweeteners, and sugar alcohol have more than 6 billion yuan, is around $8,500 million US dollars, and the total output has exceeded in 100,000 tons. By the way, the sweeteners referred to in the webinar include artificial sweeteners, naturally sweeteners, sugar alcohol, and starch sugars, but not include sucrose.
As we all know that the COVID-19 came into our life in a sudden and affected our life, the industry, and the economic. As you know, in late January, Wuhan city started the lockdown and we started to know more about the coronavirus.
Right then, we have a longer spring festival holiday than usual.
Yes, working from home in early February during the most severe time in China. Then in early March, China's epidemic situation was initially controlled and the country began to return to normal in late March. The epidemic has been basically controlled in April, and Wuhan, the epicenter of the epidemic, has lifted the lockdown on April 8.
Up to now, the epidemic situation in China has been effectively controlled, but the situation of overseas outbreak remains negative. In order to limit the gathering and flow of people, countries have taken measures like banning large-scale events, lockdown cities, and causing bondage, etc.
The impact of the COVID-19 epidemic on production side was mainly reflected in February. The Spring Festival holiday was originally scheduled from January 24 to January 31, 2020, and resumed work on February the 1st. The provinces and cities have issued notices of delayed resumption of work under the impact of COVID-19. Most provinces require enterprise to resume work no earlier than 2400 on February 9, 2020. Hubei province, which has a severe epidemic situation, requires enterprises to resume work no earlier than 2400 on February 13. Besides, the epidemic has resulted in insufficient raw material supply and the weak demand from downstream food. The stock of Sweetener enterprises with normal production has accumulated, and some enterprises still have production shut down from mid-February to March, and the operating rate remained low.
Traffic control has been implemented across China due to the epidemic's prevention and control, and this has been difficult for companies to ship. In February, rail transportation and road transportation in North China was basically blocked. Vans could not be arrived at the warehouse and goods cannot be shipped. However, there are few coast cities in the northeast China. Although there is obstacle in transportation, some large factories can still ship around. Since March 2020, the Chinese epidemic has been brought under control, and logistics and transportation have been partially restored. Affected by the global spread of the epidemic, international flights have decreased, shipments have been slowed, and logistic costs have increased. In addition to restricting the interests of people in some countries, the goods have also been subject to written inspection, which has prolonged the delivery period. From the conversation we have with some companies, the increase in logistic costs and the extension of the delivery periods have resulted in the failure of custom orders to be fulfilled as agreed, and the payment cannot be recovered on time, which have an impact on the company operation.
Under this circumstance, although the government encourages the resumption of work and production, the downstream of sweetener, beverage, beer, confectioneries, and food industry has been slow in resumption of work, which increased companies' sales pressure. Under the epidemic, many European and American countries strictly quarantined imported goods and imposed certain restrictions on import trade. Coupled with the global economic downturn, China's sweetener exports face an unfavorable environment. Let's go through the starch sugar's operating rate. Due to the Spring Festival and especially the impact of epidemic, the overall operating rate was at the lowest point in history in February. And review it with the operating rate in February 2019, and it's more visual and obvious. In March, with the improvement of the logistic and the government's encouragement, most Dutch sugar enterprises resumed production. Therefore, the overall operating rate rose. And in April, the starch sugar manufacturers basically returned to their normal production level, so the operating rate has the slight increase. For looking at the starch sugar's profit, here we take Shandong market as example, is actually dropping. Under the shortage of raw material corn and the heavy losses, the operating rate of starch sugar in May is expected to be lower.
In the first quarter, the exports of most sweeteners showed a trend of volume increase and a price decrease. Under the epidemic, why is export volume growing against the trend? China is a big exporter of sweeteners and the price is low. Under the influence of the epidemic, Chinese manufacturers are under great pressure to sell sweeteners. In order not to lose out on business, manufacturers lower their price to increase the export volume. As a result, the export price continues to decline, and the advantage of exports are further revealed. Second reason is the capacity advantage. In recent years, there are many of China's sweeteners manufacturers expand their production. Some sweeteners have overcapacity and rely more on export.
Well, and affected by the epidemic situation, China's sweetener downstream enterprises have delayed the resumption of production and some suspended and limited production. Weak domestic demand leads to the increase of export in order to relieve the manufacturers' sales pressures. And the policy support is also a main factor of the export volume growth. To ease the impact of epidemic on the export enterprises, the government has introduced a number of supporting measures, including promoting the recovery of the transportation, reducing the taxes and fees, increasing the financial support, increasing the export tax rebate rate, simplifying the export procedure, and also provide the export force mayor certificates. Virus supporting policies have effectively reduced the operating pressure of the enterprise and improved the export competitiveness of the enterprise at the same time.
Here we select xylitol to review this export situation. China is the world's major xylitol producer and exporter. In 2019, China's xylitol production was about 65,000 tons, of which exported volume accounts to 44,000 tons, and the exports account for about 67% of the total China production. Under the Global Public Safety Incident on March 20, 2020, the Minister of Finance and the State Administration of Taxation adjusted the xylitol export tax rebate rate from 10% to 30%. Xylitol export encountered both challenges and opportunity in future. From 2050 to 2080, the exports for xylitol show a steadily growth trend. According to the statistic, the export volume of xylitol in 2050 was 34,410 tons, and by 2080 it was an increase to 46,300 tons. In 2019, xylitol export volume fell by 5.30% year-on-year.
The main export countries of xylitol concentrate in European and American countries, such as the United States, Poland, the UK, and Russia. China's main export destination in the first quarter of 2020 were Poland, the United States, and Italy. And these three major exporting countries still accounted for more than 40%. Poland remained the largest importer of xylitol in China. The proportion of xylitol exported to United States is still 15%, and the proportion of xylitol exported to Italy has dropped from 13% in 2019 to 9%.
In the short term, after the outbreak of the COVID-19 epidemic, many major xylitol exporting countries have been affected, and now some countries have entered a stage of strict control. Xylitol export demand is expected to decline in stage. In the long term, the export enthusiasm of variety of enterprises in the markets will increase to a certain extent under the simulation of the export tax rebate increase policy. Furthermore, as the impact of global public safety events weaken, as the low sugar heavy food The demand of xylitol may increase in future, and application will be recognized by more countries as well, since the strengthened concept of healthy life at home and abroad. There is a room for growth in xylitol export. However, considering the current oversupply of China xylitol, China company will not rule out bidding to seize market share in the future. The export price of xylitol may decline in the future.
Let's go into the next part, price change of sweeteners from January to April 2020. We can see that from all these tables that no matter it's high in sensitive sweeteners, sugar alcohol, starch sugar, or nature sweeteners, they all have the similar price change. Compared with January, the export price of sweeteners fell in April, and in February, when the epidemic became severe, the export price of sweeteners generally showed a slight increase, and in March, the epidemic situation was gradually controlled, and the prices resumed production, and the export price of sweeteners began to fall. And with weak demand, the overall export price of sweeteners continued to decline in April.
Well, next part we will review the recent market dynamic. First is the project progress. On March 2, Zhucheng Dongxiao Limited's 20,000 tons of high-class irritant production line expansion project have been resumed and is under construction. It is expected that it will be complete in 2020. On March 30, Jilin Ogeo Limited issued the environmental impact assessment report for 50,000 of crystalline trehalose projects. The projects use cornstarch as raw material to produce food-grade trehalose dihydrate. The project is planned to be put into production in February 2021.
On April the 1st, Shandong Campbell announced that its 6,000 tons per year sucrose deep processing technology transformation project has been completed. The production yield of the product is increased by about 10%, and its sucrose output can reach 2,750 tons per year. On April 10, Hubei Haiyi announced that its original 4,000 tons per year production line of yeast had changed to produce araphenol.
On April 15, the environmental impact assessment of the high-class starch and deep processing project of Dezhou Heyang Limited was released. These projects include 700,000 tons of high-end edible corn starch, 100,000 tons for pharmaceutical-grade cornstarch, 50,000 tons for dextrose, 100,000 maltose syrups, and 20,000 in erythritol.
Let's review the company dynamic. Anhui Jinhe plans to expand 5,000 tons per year of sucrose with construction period of 12 to 18 months. It's designed to be put into operation in 2021, and at that time, its capacity of sucrose will reach 8,000 tons per year. After all these topics, let's make a summary on the changes of China's sweetener industry under COVID-19. The epidemic is a challenge and also an opportunity for the sweetener industry. On the one hand, the difficulties caused by the spread of the epidemic around the world, such as restricted production and the broad logistics, have hit the sweetener industry. With the continuous impact of uncertainties and the global economic downturn, the export-dependent sweeteners face huge challenges. On the other hand, because of the epidemic, natural health products that boost immunity have become a hot topic. According to Baidu Index, the search volume for the keyword immunity has skyrocketed during the epidemic. Consumers are paying more attention to health, and the market for natural sweeteners will also be expanded.
The epidemic drove people pay more attention to the general healthy and consumer consumption trends are constantly changing. The concepts of reducing sugars, salt, and oil have gradually become a consensus of ordinary knowledgeable consumers, especially middle-aged and elderly people. Therefore, product innovation and transformation and upgrading in the field of sweeteners industry chains will also become the focus of widespread concerns in the industry. In the context of the continuous consumption upgrades, natural healthy sugar substitute products, stevia side and maltose, etc., or semi-sugar products, sugar substitute plus white sugars will be more popular and this also represents the future trends of sweetness development.
In September 2019, the General Office of the General Administration of Market Supervision issued guidelines on regulating the use of food additives and clearly stating that scientifically reduce the content of sucrose in processed foods and advocate the use of natural sweeteners and sweeteners allowed by food safety standards to replace cane sugar. In order to avoid the losses caused by the food labels, food companies began to reduce sugar as much as possible and to avoid the use of artificial sweeteners, and food labels will gradually change from white sugar, aspartame to stevia, erythritol, and new low-calorie sugar, allulose.
JK Sucralose plans to invest approximately $30 million to develop and produce semi-sugar, a mixture of sucrose and white sugars with 5 times sweetness of sugars. On January 16, JK Sucralose signed a sucralose industry chain purchase cooperation agreement with Chongzuo Government of Guangxi, known as the City of Sugars. The initial strategy plan formulated by the two parties is, firstly, the establishment of the Semi-Sugars Project Research Institute in Chongzuo City. Secondly, choose 2 or more sugar factories to carry out sucrose and white sugars comprehensive crystallization experiments. Focus on the production of semi-sugars products. The first batch of semi-sugar products is expected to be released in the second half of 2020. Semi-sugar products will fill the gap that there is no product composed of sucrose and sugars presently.
In December 2018, Ingredient established a cooperative relationship with Matsumoto Chemical and launched the U.S. market competition with the annulose product of Thai and Lila Group. Ingredient opened their first allulose production plant in Mexico, producing and selling their sweeteners throughout the American and Asian markets. According to the reports, ingredients are very interested in allulose, and the application volume in 2018 increased by 42% compared with 2017. While the new food and beverage products using the ingredient as raw material reached an average annual growth rate of 45% from 2014 to 2018. The COVID-19 accelerates the industry developments in China and indirectly promotes the transformation and upgrading of China's sweetener industry chain in the coming few years.
So what measure enterprise should take to respond to changes?
First is to establish a complete supply chain, gain real-time insights into the market changes, and closely track changes on the demand side. Insist on making periodical sales focuses for each factory and formulating a scientific production inventory plan. Develop an emergency plan in responding emergency. Then is to build an innovative management model. The sales plan of sweetener companies can be titled from pursuing absolute sales to increasing the market share. On the basis of traditional channels, broaden the terminal sales channels and emerge channels to seize the opportunity.
Thank you so much for case sharing, and thank you all very much for attending, and we hope you can get some key points out of the presentation. If you have any question left, please write it down in the chat box or send to your account manager. We will get back to you by email as soon as possible.
All the information in this webinar was enabled by our brand CCM and Chainalysis. If you want to find out more, I recommend you to have a look at our website or contact us to get further information. Besides, you can have a look at our new platform Impact Factor. It enables you to stay ahead of the market competition through insights and trends over the most important factors in the changing world. Now, the first factor we have is COVID-19. In this platform, you can review the global COVID-19 situation, review the local news for each country, and check the exit entry policy in this platform. And you can also understand the industry trends in China under this factor and review the government policy in different provinces. Last but not least, don't forget to give your webinar suggestions to your account manager. We will select from the topics and suggestions to hold the next webinar. So today, thank you all again and have an awesome day. See you in our next webinar.
Thanks all of you. Bye.